In this video, I'll go over the 3 core concepts to help you score more points in your games of Warhammer 40k 10th edition. The 3 concepts we'll be covering in this video are understanding the Leviathan mission cards, how to keep the secondary cards in mind whilst moving your units, and how to deny your opponent's secondary cards. Let's start with how you score these cards in Warhammer 40k 10th edition. You start with either a 16 card deck that you draw up to 2 cards and try and complete them by the end of your turn, or you pick 2 of the cards with this symbol and you score them and only them on each of your turns. Now onto the first concept of scoring well on secondary cards, and it is so simple and you may not even think this should count as a concept, but I believe it is the most important to scoring well and mastering the secondary cards. You need to understand what the cards are and how you need to score them. So what do I mean by understanding the cards? Read through them? Well, yes, but I want you to be able to draw any card and understand exactly how you can score it that turn. Without a good knowledge of the cards, you won't be able to efficiently score them in each of your turns, and you'll end up deploying poorly and maybe not being able to even score them turn 1. A good understanding of the secondary cards also helps speed up your play. By having a deep understanding of every secondary card, you can deploy your army to score these turn 1 and to help you score them in future turns. I'm not trying to say you need to study these cards day and night until you have them mastered, but before every game, take a few minutes and go through all the cards in your deck to understand how they all play again. Do that enough and you will have memorized every single card in the deck and you will be mastering this concept in no time. The second concept is, move your units with all the secondaries you can achieve this turn in mind. This follows on from the first concept and all the knowledge and understanding of how the secondary cards work. Consider what secondaries you can score next turn when you're moving your units this turn. Only 4 of the secondary cards actually require you to interact with your opponent. The rest are always within your control, if you let them be, but you have to move in such a way to enable this. See this and understand how important movement can be in uplifting your secondary scores. Here's a useful tip for when you're planning out your turn. Think, if I move my units here, how could I score secondaries next turn? Understand you will not be able to complete every secondary every turn, but by consciously deciding what secondaries you are considering applicable to your next turn, you'll have faster decisions after drawing your cards as you have already planned whether a card is doable or not. Remember that not every unit needs to be able to score a secondary on this turn or the next, but by keeping that in consideration, you will heighten your secondary scores. Units that go back into reserve, move twice, or other mobility effects are really strong for securing secondary cards, and you should consider adding a few units that fit this role if you are struggling to score the more movement-based secondary cards. A good way to practice this concept is to take photos at the start and end of each of your movement phases. This way you can look back on it after the game or even on your opponent's turn and decide whether you really did have a good plan for your next turn's secondaries. Now let's get into the last of the 3 core concepts, denying your opponent's secondary cards. So after you have mastered the first 2 concepts, you can start to use that information to counter your opponent's cards. Understanding what your opponent may draw can help you inform you on your turns and what you can do to counter what they can score on their turns. For example, it's turn 3 and your opponent hasn't drawn overwhelming force yet. So you can decide, well, I'm going to not be on objectives that I'm not going to hold until my next turn anyway, so that if they do draw overwhelming force, it's a dead draw for them. A pro tip with overwhelming force, if you can avoid deploying on your home objective, or really any objective for that matter, you can make overwhelming force a dead draw for your opponent on his turn 1. I had a game recently against Astra Militarum. It was top of turn 5 and my turn. I wasn't really sure what to do with my turn, so I looked through my opponent's drawn secondary cards and realised they hadn't drawn area denial yet. So I decided to move and charge my Space Marine infiltrators into the only units that could get within 6 inches of the centre of the battlefield. I made sure to have one of my models wholly within 3 inches of the centre of the battlefield, and every model wholly within 6 inches of the centre of the battlefield. This meant they would have to kill my entire unit to get the secondary for 5 points. To my luck, on his turn he draws area denial. This caused him to fall back with his tank and only have his indirect to try and kill my infiltrators with. My infiltrators ended up surviving that game and securing me the win. If I hadn't gone for this play and seen that the potential for drawing area denial, I could have actually lost this game because of this. The same principle works for positional based secondaries as well. Think they're about to draw behind enemy lines? Well, you can pre-measure your opponent's movement and block them from getting wholly within your deployment zone. also screen out any potential reserve threats that could be coming in this turn. So those were the three main concepts of scoring higher in your games of Warhammer 40k 10th edition. With practice, these three core concepts will get you scoring higher in your games of Warhammer 40k, and you will end up winning more games. So let me know what you think of these core concepts in the comments section below, and let me know if you want me to deep dive into any more of these core concepts, or maybe do a video on primary. Thanks for staying to the end of the video. Please like and subscribe if you've enjoyed this video, and share it with all your friends that you think might find it useful as well. Otherwise, I'll see you guys next time. Bye!